Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by the Looking Glass Podcast. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
Head over to their Patreon account and you can get subscribed to the Looking Glass Podcast. Great guys. Hopefully we can hunt with them again this year. They've been MIA the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, Logan keeps having babies. He probably won't get to hunt much more.
He won't be here.
With us today from Eagle Rock, Missouri, Mr. Jeff Fletcher. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Doing wonderful. I was told that you have tons of great stories, that you're a fishing guide in the Ozarks. So,
yes, I'm fifth generation in this same county. My dad was a fishing guide. He started floating down the White River before they dammed it up. He was a guide for over 50 years. I grew up at a resort. I was guiding by the age of 12, just like a farm kid. I was guiding out of necessity because he needed more guides, so I missed lots of school.
Sometimes the best education is not being in a classroom, though.
I'm telling you, I got an education like you can't imagine. When you're a 12-year-old and you can catch them, they treat you like an adult. You know, people would show up and they'd look at me and they'd say, I'm getting in the boat with this kid. And he said, that kid's got more knowledge in his finger than you do in your whole body. Get in the boat and you'll figure it out.
So what kind of fish are you catching?
Well, right now I'm fish guiding for walleye most every day. We always had walleye in the river and in the lake, and then they started stocking fingerlings 20 years ago. So 15 years ago, it got to where we have enough walleye that I target them, at least half of the year.
What's a big walleye there?
The biggest I've caught is 13. The biggest I've ever seen. My dad, I've got pictures of 2 16s, but I've probably caught 18 in my life, over 10 pounds.
That's a big fish. It's a good eating fish, too. The best eating fish, probably.
Good as it gets. But also I guide for largemouth, spotted bass, smallmouth, crappie, and I run float trips down the Kings River, one of the tributaries of Table Rock, just like, Dad did the White River. When they dammed it up, he started doing that. And so I've guided on the river and guided on the lake all my life.
Now, I haven't done the White River area much. Are we looking at is it got houses all along it, or is there a lot of wilderness there still?
Well, where I'm at, I'm on the upper end of Table Rock. There's a lot of wilderness. Now, on the lower end, you got Branson. And so from mid-lake down, there is a lot of development. There has been more development here since COVID, but we still are the most remote part of the lake. And when we're going up the river, the walleyes go up stream to spawn in the winter, just like a white bass does. They go to run in the water. You get up there in certain areas and you might see 1 or 2 or 3 houses a day.
And that's it. What's the wildest shit? So you're in the river. I'm going to ask the question because everybody's going to say Jeff had to ask it. Have you ever seen a Bigfoot or know anybody that's seen a Bigfoot up there?
I've had people claim they've seen them, but I believe they's on the shine.
What's the weirdest shit you've seen while you were guiding?
I saw a hog in the lake once. I thought it was a deer, and it was in a part of the lake that's probably 1.5 miles wide. And anytime I see a deer, I'll run out there and just look at it. Sometimes there's some giants, and I've known of people trying to grab a hold of their horns and get slung in the water and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I'll run out there and run a circle around it. And it wasn't a big hog; it was a baby hog. I didn't even know they could swim, and that thing swam all the way across the lake.
That's crazy. Have you ever found anything cool while you're out there?
Oh, I've found little bits of everything. After deer season, we have found some enormous deer, for here, big deer. My kids, I don't know how many heads they've cut off and thrown them in my bass boat with blood and guts everywhere, But, that a deer will run to water, when they've been shot, it seems like. And so we'll find, dead deer along the river. I've never found a dead body, but I know people that have. So I've seen lots of crazy things, but I guess that's about it. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Well, Branson's become such an upscale type place now.
Yes, it has, and I mean, I've been going to Branson since I was a baby. Mom and Dad was taking me to Silver Dollar City when I was young. My father was friends with the Hershans that own it, so we went over there when I was young, and then there was a few restaurants we would go eat at, and when we pull out or pull into the Branson West end of town, I mean, there was a Mexican place there, and then there wasn't anything for another mile or two, and now it's just one big strip.
Hey, do you? It's been good for the area financially, I know.
Yeah, it has. A lot of people ask me about that because they my family's been here forever, and so they said, "Are you bitter about the lake going in?" I said, "No, that's how I make a living." I mean, there's thousands of people that have moved to this area because of my father and I. They'll originally come here and go fish, on vacation, and then they end up buying a house and retiring here, and then their kids and their grandkids and their great grandkids have went fishing with us.
Hey, did the movie Ozark, did that portray y'all good, or that series?
Yeah, it did. But the thing about Ozark, that's based on Lake of the Ozarks, but that's pretty much about every reservoir on the around the United States. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things, and I could tell you some stuff that I probably shouldn't even tell. But I mean, like the mob being involved up there at Lake of the Ozark and money laundering and cartel. I mean, I started taking the mob fishing when I was 14, and there was a judge that would always be here and the FBI, and Dad would say, "What?" I'd ask Dad, I say, "What in the world are we doing?" He said, "Jeffrey, they're just figuring out what they can and can't do, and they choose to spend their money here, and it spends real good."
That's exactly right. Is it more like it goes like I've only been to Branson a couple of times. It's always been in the summertime or late spring. In the wintertime, is it dead? Like all them multi-million-dollar houses are just summer homes for most of those people, right?
That's right. I mean, Branson is dead. I mean, if you live here, you got to have another source of income to get through the winter, So that's the issue around here. We're getting some more year-round tourism. They're trying to, like Silver Dollar City, they'll go through the end of the year and they have Christmas lights and all that stuff. That brings a lot of people here. But most of the time, that time of year, people aren't looking for fishing guides, though. Once hunting season starts, that's what people are spending their money on and their time on. And so I go pretty dead come November, December, and January. And then when the walleye start going upstream, I'm full swing again in February.
I wondered about all that because it seems like every time I'm there, it's busy, busy, busy. And I thought there's no way that can sustain in the wintertime.
It doesn't, just enough. Very few of these places stay open year round. And it's hard on the restaurants too, because if you're not consistent, people stop coming, you got to depend on some local traffic to keep you going through the winter. So the locals are very important because the locals are who recommend you to go to these places,
When did your dad get into the fishing business then?
In the late 50s. He as a kid, he's born in 1930 in Warrensburg, Missouri. That's 15 miles just due west of here the way the crow flies. And they would take what they didn't even know was a vacation. They'd go to White River, which wasn't really that far away, where Big Creek and White River come together. That's about mid-lake. And Dad said they'd camp out for several days, and he said he'd see these wooden john boats go by as a child. And he told his dad, my grandpa Howard, he said, "I'm going to be a river guide one of these days." And he got home from Korean conflict, and he did a few other things, but it wasn't long before he had his own guide business in the bait shop in Eagle Rock, Missouri. And he started, when Highway 86 through Eagle Rock was dirt, hadn't even paved yet. But he had the foresight to see what had happened at Bull Shoals, that he knew a lot of people down there, and they were saying how busy they were. So he started, a float business, and then when the lake come in, he was just covered up with people.
I never thought of a fishing guide or a hunting guide service being around that in the 50s because most people wouldn't have paid to hunt and fish back then.
Yeah, well, they were. I mean, Jim Owens started doing it in 1935. He was the original float operator here on the White River, and I mean, they would take 4 and 5 and 6 day floats to where they'd have a one or two commissary boats that were floating downstream, and wherever they were going to, eat lunch, they'd set up. And, it was for the day. It was fancy. They'd set up tables and white tablecloths and cook them steaks or fish or whatever. And then commissary boat, they'd break everything down and they'd head to where they was camping out that night. So it's been going on a long time. This Jim Owens, he was taking Johnny Morris's dad fishing, John L., and Johnny as a child. And so he finally got to where he was crippled up and couldn't take people like he could. And so in the 60s, he referred all of his business to my father in the early 60s. And so that's when Johnny Morris's dad, John L., and little Johnny were fishing with JD. So Dad took them for years, and I got a lot of pictures of that.
That's what I guess I just don't think of that many people having the money back then like they do now, where they were doing the trips. And I'm sure there wasn't as high a percentage of population of people that were doing those kind of trips back then.
No, it was the elite. Yeah.
And nowadays you get more families and lower middle class families that'll take a trip somewhere. What are the rates to go on a fishing trip these days?
400 half a day, and that's 4 hours. 600 for a full day, that's 8 hours, and then $100 each additional person. So
when you're doing a trip, a half day, you're going from 6 to 10 or something?
Yeah, because right now it's so hot. And this morning, them fish bit early. We caught 17 walleye this morning, had 7 keepers, and we caught 6 of them keepers in the first hour. And they've stopped pulling water all day because they finally pulled our lake back down to Power Pool. It was 12 foot high. And when they were pulling, all day, the fishing was a little more consistent. Now you're going to hit one peak time during that 4 hour period. But the last 2 trips I was on, they didn't start biting until 9 o'clock, and the sweat was rolling off of you like you couldn't imagine. You can't ever tell. That's why you go every day.
What's the long, I know everybody's been in the outdoor business. They've had bad days and good days. Is there a limit on your walleyes?
Yeah, it's 4 fish a piece.
What's the quickest you've been done?
30 minutes.
Do they still fish, or do they want to keep fishing, trying to get bigger ones, or do most people call it then?
No, they would fish for another species.
You don't do shore lunches, do you?
No, I do on the river sometimes. But our river here, as far as floating Kings River, and when I'm talking about floatings, you're going to put in at one spot and you're going to flow up 8 miles with the current, and I'm the motor. I'm paddling, And so we'll do it for certain people that, they're going to pay for it, It's more than the 600. But we do that, and sometimes we've done overnight trips. We used to do a lot of them when I was young, but these creeks have filled in with gravel like you can't imagine since like early 2000s when we started getting these 50 and 100-year floods. They stopped gravel mining in the 90s, and it was just a perfect storm that then we started getting all these floods, and we got gravel, and we've got an otter problem. And so we do not have the smallmouth fishing that we used to in these streams.
What is the otters doing? They're eating all the small bass?
Yeah, shoot, they eat big bass. Yeah, and otter gets big. I mean, this guy that reached out to you, Taylor Sanders, he was on my high school fishing team, and he's what I call a killer. He's a fisher, a killer, and a trapper. And Taylor has trapped many otters, and I mean, he's holding them up, and these things they're 4.5, 5 foot long. They can kill an 18-inch smallmouth easy.
Son of a bitch! Did they have them 50 years ago? There wasn't very many otters there.
They eradicated them. And then in the 80s, Missouri got the bright idea that they'd trade turkeys to Louisiana for otters. And so none of us have been too happy about that.
Is there a season on them, or are they protected?
No, they're not protected. You can trap them, and if they're a nuisance, I believe you can do something about it. They're on every boat dock. Any dock that people are cleaning fish on the lake, you'll go on that dock and there's otter scat everywhere. So it's a big problem.
I'd be shooting the shit out of them little bastards. What I'd be doing.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, they're fish killers. First time I knew we had a problem was probably 20 years ago. We were floating the river, and them old big flatheads in the river, they'll spawn in June. And by that time, usually the river's run down. It's got kind of clear, and you can see everything in the river. And I had a guy, I don't remember where he's from, somewhere south. He said, "You got an otter problem." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You see that flathead down there? It looks like he's 30 or 40 pounds. I said, "Yeah." That flathead, his skin was raked from his gills to his tail. And he said an otter has had a hold of that flathead and that catfish was too big for him to kill. And after that, we started realizing we had an otter problem. But I mean, over there on that river back in the day, 80s, 90s, even through part of the 2000s, if peak time, mid-May to mid-June, if we didn't three fish catch 100, three people catch 100 smallmouth, something was wrong. Now you go over there, if you catch 50, you've had a tremendous day, and most of them are 30 to 40.
I've never ever thought of something like that being that hard on just nature in general. That kind of surprises me. And
Yeah,
I don't know why I never.
Look up otters, they'll kill fish for sport. I mean, they'll eat so many pounds a day, and then they'll just keep killing them.
Yeah, I can't. Sometimes our biologists are dumbasses. I mean, and it's like we're bringing the wolf back. What good is that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And these elk they've got down there around the Buffalo River. I mean, them farmers hate them because them elk just walk right through their dadgum fences, So yeah, I mean, same problem out west with the wolves. We got problems here with elk in certain areas.
Are they shooting the elk? Are they shooting the elk now in Southwest Missouri? Are they still not? Are they protected?
Yeah, I think they did have a season maybe here, and that's over maybe South Central, over towards West Plains. But they are shooting elk in Arkansas on the Buffalo River. I live right on the state line. I won't even claim I live in Missouri. I'm a Razorback, went to school there. My dad always said we're Laplanders. We live where Arkansas laps into Missouri. We're not responsible for them dumbasses put that stake.
So I guess you're a Go Hogs football fan then.
Oh, yeah, I'm Razorback to the core, even though we suck most of the time, but I'm still a Razorback fan. I went to school there. My youngest went to school there, so we are big time Razorbacks.
Well, hell, maybe that'll change one day, and it'll get to being. They'll start winning. It's been a long time since Arkansas's had it. They've had some good teams. They've just had bad skids at the wrong time.
Yeah, the last time we were really good and consistent is when Petrino was the head coach. Now Petrino's our offensive coordinator, and a lot of people would love for Petrino just to be the coach again. But, when Sam Pittman first come here, we had 2 or 3 decent seasons, but we've been pretty mediocre the last 4 or 5 years.
The NIL is killing a bunch of schools, and it's helping, like my Texas Longhorns are a benefactor of the NIL, and so is Texas Tech. But there's a lot of schools with good programs just don't have the donors with those deep pockets to give you 50 to 100 million a year to win your football team. And that's what's happening.
I mean, watching ESPN this morning, the best odds to win a national championship is Texas.
Yeah, I would say Texas and Ohio State both have deep pockets.
That's what they're saying.
They both have depth, and that's what's killing Alabama and even Georgia. I saw had lost some kids. Their second and third string kids are making a lot of money to go somewhere else, and that's what they're doing.
Absolutely, they are. It's changed college football for sure.
What have you seen that's changed the fishing the most in the last 20, 30 years?
Forward-facing sonar is the most impressive thing I've seen in 50 years. I've been through it all. I fished at the highest level for 9 years. What the Bassmaster Elites are used to be the top 100 and top 150. So I've fished against Clun and Klein down there in Texas, and Kevin Van Dam, Roland Martin, Jimmy Houston, Denny Brewer, all of them. So I don't know that it's good, but it's the most impressive thing I've ever seen. My dad would be rolling over thinking that what in the world are you talking about, that you can see a fish 100 foot in front of your boat.
So that part is changed. What about the client? Have they changed a lot too?
No, the clients really hadn't changed. I think we get more middle class people than we used to, because it takes a lot of money to live now, and even middle class money people are making fairly good money. But back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, when I was real young, we had a lot of rich people that fished here, and we took lots of movie stars and football and baseball players and all kinds of stuff. My dad was known nationwide. He was in every major publication, Sportsfield, Field and Stream. And, when I was in Bassmaster countless times, and they did a story on Dad in Bassmaster about his float fishing. Steve Price did he's from Texas.
Do you have the young guides like on the coast? I know a lot of the guides that fish, that are catching redfish and trout. They take a guy fishing, and the next thing you know, he's right there in the same part in his own boat. Does that happen with y'all a lot too?
It happened some, but I had that conversation beforehand. I've played this game a long time. I may be 56, but I've guided for 44 years. I don't know that's another guide on Table Rock that's guided for 44 consecutive years. So, I mean, when I get them in the boat, I ask them, what are they doing here? How many days are they fishing and all that? And they said they're fishing multiple days. And I'm just real honest with them. I said, well, I'm going to be in the same area, and there's several spots here in the same area you can be fishing. But if you're on something I want to be on, I'm going to tell you I want to be in there, and I need you to leave. And most of them do that. They respect, I don't get nasty. I just pull up there and say, hey, I need to fish this. But every now and then I'll take a prick that don't want to move, and it usually don't go too well for him.
What do you do when that happens?
Oh, I pretty much just eat their ass and tell them I'm going to take them to the bank and whip their ass is what I do. And they usually get off of the bank. They get the hell out of there then.
So you've had it come down to that before?
Yeah, but I've never had to go to the bank. I get pretty serious, and most everybody knows I got a rifle and a pistol in that boat. So they don't want a hole in the boat.
Well, that's probably true too.
I am a backwoods hillbilly. My family's been making moonshine since before the Civil War, so we're just not them kind you want to mess with. We get along with everybody until you start screwing with their livelihood or their family.
What do so let's go to the moonshine deal now. So your family made moonshine back in the day.
Oh, yeah. As soon as they got here, they moved here to trap. They come here to trap, beaver, muskrat, beaver, mink, whatever. And so they made a living doing that, and they made a living making shine. But my dad was born in 1930, and he always said, Jeffrey, the only way we survived in that holler is because we caught it, killed it, grilled it, or brewed it. And he said most of the money comes from brewing it.
What kind of money? What would shine make back in the day compared to like a? I always wondered.
Dad didn't even ever elaborate on that part of it. My grandfather never told the grandkids about the shine business. Now, he's the one that run it through Prohibition. His name was Howard Fletcher, and he had two brothers that helped him. But then my dad and my two uncles, from 30 on, they were helping him make shine as kids. And they never talked about the money end of it. My grandma was a very staunch Church of Christ, a very good Christian woman, just raising up a group of outlaw moonshiners, who happened to be Christians also. And, my grandpa, he tithed on that moonshine liquor so much they built two different churches down there.
There was a lot of old money, or a lot of money was made back in those days, but I don't know if anybody ever got wealthy and rich selling moonshine.
No, they didn't. I mean, they just survived. And I mean,
yes.
a lot of that was bartering. I mean, they were bartering with people to, for work or to come help them, cut hay or whatever. And then they were giving it to local law enforcement to keep them to where they would let them know when the feds were going. But, back in the day, there wasn't that many people here. So there was always somebody in local law enforcement that we were related to. And somebody sent word to the Fletchers that the revenues are coming, and they never got busted. They got their stuff put up every time.
And I'm assuming marijuana has taken place of the moonshine, growing them in the backwoods there.
Well, it did for years, but it doesn't now because it's legal. It's recreational is legal in Missouri, and I think Arkansas it's still just medical. But yeah, my old buddies that grew that stuff for years, I mean, it's put them out of business, and they went back to making moonshine because they don't bust moonshiners like they used to.
I don't know what the market is on that, but there sure is a bunch of it that's sold.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Which now you can grow, you can buy it everywhere. It seemed to me like that would be the best money crop of all the alcohols, because if you grow bourbon, or you don't grow bourbon, if you make bourbon, you got to let it set for 7 years to age or whatever it is. Hell, moonshine ages a day.
That's it. Age it, and nobody buys clear anymore. It's all flavored, so it's peach, strawberry lemonade, straight lemonade, watermelon. There's many flavors around.
Do you do any sort of do you fish in the winter a lot?
I don't. I fish year round. There's hardly a week goes by that I ain't fishing at least 2 or 3 days a week, even in the winter.
You ever had it so cold that you wanted to call it?
Oh, when I was a kid, I did. I mean, back now we have an extended fall that rolls into spring and maybe 2 weeks of winter. But yeah, I mean, I can remember out there so many times with the ice freezing up in your guides, and the wind blowing frickin' 30 mile an hour and being a blizzard, and so many of those days, back then we was running V bottles with 15 horses and we didn't even have electronics, So at noon we always pulled on the bank. I can't tell you how many days we pulled on the bank and built a fire, and then if the beer and the whiskey came out, that was pretty much the rest of the afternoon. Nobody wanted to fish again.
So we're in up north when you're doing a shore lunch with walleye and potatoes fried. You were drinking whiskey and beer, and them customers were staying warm that way.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Do y'all? Because back in the day, y'all would ice up too, just like ice fishing almost, right? In some places.
We did. One of the worst whippings I ever got. My dad was really, really calm and never really got too upset, and was always had a smile on his face and a good disposition. Lake froze pretty much all the way across. I thought it had froze across, and across from the resort where I grew up, there's a lot of timber on that bluff. I was over there riding my bicycle through that timber on the ice when I was about 8 or 9, and Dad yelled and screamed at me and told me to get my ass back over to the boat dock. And when I got over there, he had a switch and he gave me the damn whipping of my life. And I mean, my ass hurt for 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, what in the world did you whip my ass hard for? And he said, look over there. There's places where there's not any ice. He said, if you'd have went down, you'd have been dead. I'm going to make sure you don't ever do this again. I didn't do it again either.
Now, are you catching trout or just walleye and smallmouth?
We catch some trout, and that's when we go upstream. We're 15 miles below the dam, and so in the winter the trout will get down this far. So there's a lot of trout fishing up just right below Beaver Dam, and that's what we call beaver tailwaters. But I don't target them that much. I focus more on the walleye and the bass and the crappie. But as far as there's a ton of stripers and beaver, but a lot of them come through the floodgates, and so. The end of April of 2000, I caught the state record, and it weighed 64 and a half pounds, and it was a 12-pound line class world record.
And that's a lake trout?
No, that's a striped bass.
Okay. I was going to say, I'd never heard of y'all don't have lake trout there, just the rainbows, right?
No, yeah.
Okay.
So at the time, that was the third largest striper ever caught in fresh water. Like 2 days later, it went on Associated Press, and it was on the Paul Harvey Show. So I was on the Paul Harvey Show where it said world record almost.
64-pound striper is fucking huge. God almighty.
You can Google it and you can see it. So it's lots of pictures of it out there. There was a guy caught one here on Bull Shoals years after I did that was bigger. It was like 67. And I guess he had his license on auto renewal. I'm not sure, but somehow he didn't have his license and he thought he did. And so when they got there to verify it, he didn't have a license, so he got a ticket and they took the fish.
Shit, 67. How long is that fish?
Oh, the one I caught's like 58 inches, I believe, and then the girth was enormous, And I was still fishing professionally. I was going to one more tournament. It was the last tournament of the year. In the top 150s at that time, and so I lost my track of thought.
World record fish, no license.
Yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that.
Okay. Anyways,
but no. Bass Pro Shop was my rod and reel, my line sponsor, all their private label at the time. And so I caught that on 12-pound line. And so the next year, it was in the Bass Pro catalog, the 2001 catalog on the Excel line page, and I'm holding up that fish. And then I also, I caught it on, a Johnny Morse Signature Series, rod and reel. So they paid me $5,000 for that fish. I caught it on a Smithwick Rogue. I had been sponsored by them in the past, but by that time, they were owned by the conglomerate Pradco. And they paid me $7,200 over 3 years. So for a world record or state record striper, I made $12,000 off of.
I wonder what the new world record largemouth bass would be worth.
They say if it's caught on certain tackle, like anything Berkeley, it's Berkeley. That's like they pay $1 million for it.
I wonder if we'll see a new world record on that doesn't come out of Japan or somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been some close, caught in California, and then there was supposedly one caught in Japan, but that world record come out of a farm pond in Alabama.
Yeah,
and the third,
1936 or something, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
All the big fish they catch, and they fish the shit out of them. I'm good friends with Maddie Robertson, that's on the fishing deal all the time, and you catch a 15-pound bass, that's a hoss.
Yeah, I mean, biggest bass I ever caught was 11 and a half out of Sam Rayburn. I lost one bigger in my fourth BASS tournament down there. It weighed like probably over 12. That if I'd got that fish in, I'd have won. Randy Dearman won that tournament, and I was like 4 pounds behind. He had 68, and he had 64 and a half, and I had 60 and a half. He come in second. Clun was third behind me, and I think Shaw Grigsby was fourth.
Well, in the right tournament, that'd be worth a lot of money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just be in the right place, the right time.
Yeah.
Do you deal with duck hunters a lot in the wintertime where you're fishing at?
No, not too much. We're not known too much for ducks. I mean, most of the duck hunting here is pond hopping. There is some on the creeks and the rivers, but I don't know. We just must not be in the right area. I think most of them are for sure to the east of us, going down Arkansas or going down to Mississippi. And guys go north of here to like Nevada, Missouri. There's a big wildlife management area up there that's public that they kill lots of ducks. But we got a lot of resident geese. We have some mallards show up. We have a big wood duck population, but I mean, we don't get the mallards like everybody else does.
We'll go back to fishing real quick. What do you think about the guys that got caught cheating 2 years ago?
Yeah, terrible. I mean, it happened down here that somebody ended up dead.
I'm surprised somebody didn't whip them guys' asses. I really am.
I figured it. That happened down here. These old hillbillies, I mean, they'd have been stomped right there, and then later on, they'd probably end up dead.
Yeah, I've been that kind of. It's crazy that they went through the amount of money that they won over the years, and you can't prove that they were cheating the whole time, but they were.
Yeah. And like that one they got caught on, they had enough fish to have won that tournament even without cheating.
Yeah,
crazy.
And the guy that done the cheating, they found out or got caught stealing, or he got caught poaching a deer or something last year.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I heard that recently in the last few weeks. Somebody told me so. He's must be a pretty bad dude.
Pretty damn stupid is what he is.
Idiot. Yeah, somebody needs to be strung up.
But I wondered how. So, was you ever in a tournament you think someone cheated?
I fished BASS. I fished at the highest level. There's no cheating in that. I mean, because you're back in the day, you were drawing a different non-boater or amateur every day. They had to sign your slip. They had to sign yours. And if you got caught doing that, you'd be banned from the circuit,
I don't. Anytime there's a contest of money involved, you're going to have cheating. Somebody somewhere is going to try to figure out how to cheat. I know, like in the Bass Classic on the Elite Series, they've got a monitor, I think, in every boat.
They do.
And just a volunteer person that rides along to make sure they don't. But I don't even know how you would cheat at that level anyways.
Well, you don't. The only thing there is you're not supposed to, get information up until a certain point before that tournament, or during the tournament. And so that's, if there's any cheating going on there, you got guys talking to locals that are feeding them information in the time period they're not supposed to be getting it.
And that's what they're doing then.
Well, yeah, but I don't think there's a whole lot of that going on at that level. Now, I fish local tournaments now, and there's been guys weighing in like frozen fish at frickin' night, in some of these night tournaments that have been dead. It's just ridiculous how stupid some of these people are. And I mean, I've never caught one. I've got people that have hooked into friends that have hooked into live boxes that are full of bass, and so at the local level, I'm sure there's quite a bit of it that goes on. But these scopers anymore, I don't care how much you cheat, they're going to outfish you.
One of the things that I find it really interesting, not really, I don't know if it's interesting or not, is like we've been around I've been to the last 3 Bass Classics, and 2 of the 3, they've had to travel an hour.
Yeah, I did too when I fished it. One of the ones the only made Classic once. That was in '96. That was on Lay Lake in Alabama, and the weigh-in was in Birmingham. It was an hour drive.
But if the fish dies, don't they hold that against the guy?
They check those fish when you get out of the water. But yeah, it's not easy, especially used to we held the Classic in August, and it's really hard to keep them alive in hot water. And so I think that's now one of the reasons that they have the Classic like in March, because they'll stay alive in those longer rides if you keep your water cold and you got the recirculator on, and I'm sure they're treating the water too once that they get in.
So they don't penalize you, but they make you drive an hour with the bass.
Yeah.
It seems to me that it would be a lot simpler to do it somewhere closer. Like in Knoxville, Tennessee, it's a block from there, or 2 blocks from the it seems like there's enough venues they could have it where it would be closer to the water than having to drive an hour.
Probably so, but these venues are paying BASs to be there. So some of these venues probably won't pay. So they're going to where they're getting paid.
So when they were at Tulsa or in Fort Worth, they're getting some money by the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce or the Tulsa to have the event there.
Absolutely.
Okay, well that makes more sense then, because I never did make sense.
They go in there with the data about how much money and revenue it brings to that town, when there's a Bassmaster Classic there.
Well, that part definitely makes sense. But I always wondered about that, how you would – I didn't understand why. I knew it was for the big stadium-type venues, but it just seems to me there's enough places with good water where you can fish in big cities that you don't have to go an hour and a half. Because from Grand Lake to Tulsa was a long drive, and from Lake Ray Roberts to downtown Fort Worth's a long drive.
Absolutely.
And it's back in Knoxville again next year, which is really simple because it's only 2 blocks away from the water. I think it's maybe 6 blocks from the boat dock to the actual stadium. So that works out well.
Logistically, that makes a whole lot more sense, but it's all about bass getting paid.
So you have no desire to want to fish again on the tour?
No, not in today's day and age of forward-facing sonar and all that. I mean, an old school guy like me, it's hard for me to go out there and stare at that screen all day long. I use FFS every day, but I'm looking at a drop, I'm looking at a brush pile, I'm looking under a dock. A lot of these fish, especially in the winter and even in the fall, are offshore, and these guys will look at their screens all day long and cover a ton of water. And a lot of times won't even throw until they see the right sized fish. And I'm just not geared that way. I do that an hour or two. I'm ready to go to the bank or go to a drop or a pile or a dock and try to catch a fish.
Do you have you dealt with the Karens on the docks that you see all the videos and TikTok or YouTubes about?
I've never had where they're trying to run me off. The only instance I ever had where I thought somebody was pissed off. I was fishing these docks. I was on the Potomac River. And he come out, and so tide was going out. I'm flipping dock piers. They're not floating docks there; they're on piers. And so I'm flipping those piers. I look in this yard, and here comes a guy with a shotgun, and he was running at me. And I told the guy with me, I said, "Hey, we need to get out of here." So he got down, and he was buckling up. I was trying to buckle up, and that guy, he finally looked at me and went like this. And so I just sit there. And he shot and he killed a cottonmouth right there between me and the dock. He said, "I've been trying to kill that damn snake for a month." I said, "I thought you was after us." He said, "Oh, no."
That would be scary, though. I could see where that'd bother your ass.
Oh, yeah. But that's the only instance. I've had some people tell me I can't fish around a dock. I'm like, you don't own this water, and so I'm going to fish here. I don't care what you do,
Yeah, them Karen ladies on them TV and them fancy ass lakes, their summer homes. It's crazy the way I saw one guy put water sprinklers on his dock.
Yeah,
and would turn them on anytime somebody got close to them. I mean, they don't own the damn fish underneath them.
No, they don't own the fish. They don't own the water. Yeah, so that's a pain in the butt. But I know some of them deal with that now. I mean, back in the day, I never really talked to anybody where we had real issues. The only place we had issues, we fished at Bayou Signet down at New Orleans one time on the West Bank, and we fished all them swamps and bayous and sloughs and canals, and I mean there was people, them old Cajuns down there in Coonasses living in them camps out there on stilts in the swamp. Hell, they was shooting over our heads. Gary Klein weighed in, and I don't know. I think it was past Ray Scott when he was doing weigh-in. I think maybe Fisherman was doing it, and they were interviewing him. He had a pretty good sack. He said, "Gary, how do you feel about tomorrow?" And he said, "I don't feel so good because where I got him today, I got shot at, and I ain't going back tomorrow."
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'd cut that shit out for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
So you're off for you fish every day in the spring, and you say you fish year round. You have very few days off. What do you do when you go on vacation? Do you get out? I mean, like we travel a lot. Me and my wife. I'm in the hunting business. We're busy 6 months out of the year, not 12 months around, but we're busy. But we travel and stuff. Do you get much time off, like a week or two off at a time, or do you never take that time off?
Oh, yeah, we're leaving next Monday. We're going to the Cayman Islands. We always go somewhere in the Caribbean or to the beach, Gulf Shores or Cocoa Beach or, Clearwater, somewhere like that.
So you're going fishing?
No, I ain't fishing. I'm going to sit on the beach and drink Tito's and soak up the sun and chase my hot wife around.
There you go. That's a good life right there.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being on here with us. We've never had a fishing guide from your area on, and I learned a little bit about fishing today, and that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, sounds good. Enjoyed being on.
Hey, I appreciate you, Jeff. You have a great day. God bless you. Enjoy the Cayman Islands, my friend.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Fishing guys work harder than waterfowl guys do if they're working year round. You get your computer stuff fixed over there?
No.
All right. All right. Well, thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Y'all come out and see me. I'll be at Memphis with Andy at the Ducks Expo. We'll be at our booth, Big Honker Podcast. Stanfield Hunting Outfitters has got a booth. Boss has got a booth there. Most all of our sponsors got there. The new Mexican tree duck, Corey Lucas with Cedar Run Decoys, is out. He will have it at his booth, and we'll have it at our booth. You can go right there and order one of them. It is part of the Big Honker collection. They will be limited, and Pacific will have some of the boxes still that will be signed and autographed by me and Andy. It'll be our 1,000th episode. We'll have some 1,000 episode shirts available. I will see y'all in Memphis. Thank you, and God bless you, and have a great day.